I am Dr. Nana Usman Bature. I have been assigned to take business communication. That's the course title. Course code was 315, credit unit 2. That's my mobile number and email. The next is grading style. Students' performance in this course will be through the following assessment model as specified in the table below. You have first total mark assessment. For the attendance is 5. The second TMA, 15 marks. Then final examination will be 70, making 100%. Course description. This course gives a general introduction to business communication. It is to help the students to understand communication process and to improve their ability to communicate effectively in a formal and non-formal settings. The course covers the nature of business communication, modes of communication in business, forms of business communication, formal and informal business communication, communication networks in organization, business reports, business letters, to mention but few. The next study session 1, the nature of business communication. That is where you see the introductory part. This study session will discuss the nature of business communication. We will start by explaining what communication is. Therefore, we will look at the importance of communication in business. We will proceed by explaining the rationale for the study of business communication, variables in communication process, distortions in business communication, and principles of effective business communication. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to define communication, discuss the importance of communication in business, and give reasons for the study of business communication. The next is session preview. As you can see, all we need to know in this session is diagrammatically presented here. See the nature of business communication there? That takes us to what is communication. Then communication in business. And there you see variables in business communication process, distortions in business communication, principles of effective business communication. And that also boils down to why we study business communication. What are the importance of business communication in any organization? And here you see the importance, which are business ideas, technologies, specialization, improving quality, motivation, customer service, and government relations. What is communication? Communication could mean different things to different people. It could mean one thing to a group of businessmen and women, another thing to doctors, linguistics, lawyers, engineers, and politicians. However, there are basic conditions that must justify a good communication. In trying to define communication, we will realize that there are many definitions of communication as provided by the scholars in the field. We are going to look at those definitions by some scholars in the field. Even though these scholars are from different backgrounds, but they are saying the same thing and moving towards the same goal. According to Bature 2019, communication is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. On the other hand, Elgart Site 1974 sees communication as the sharing of ideas and feelings in a mood of mutual understanding. From the above definitions, we can pick on two active words, passing and sharing information or ideas. It shows that an active communication moves from one point to the other. From this definition, we can still see the word share coming up. It means information needs to move from its present point to another. Let us now look at how other scholars define the concept of communication. Communication is a process in which people share information, ideas, and feelings. That's by Hybels and Weaver 2001. Another one says communication can be defined as the exchange of information between a sender or a source and a receiver or the destination of message so that it is received, understood, and enforces action. That was by Obamiro 2011. The next is that communication is the process of exchanging or transmitting information, ideas, and feelings between the sender and the receiver by Shonubi and Akintaro 2016. As you can see, we have common elements in all the definitions. Is it exchange of information, exchange of ideas, and what have you? This is what communication is all about, and it has to move from one point to the other. So we have been able to see how different people define communication. We also pointed out that communication needs to be shared or passed from one point to the other. Therefore, communication can be said to be a process of passing information and understanding from one person to the other. This usage of the term varies from one industry to the other, or from industry to industry. However, for the purpose of this lecture, our focus will be on business communication. Self-check is there for the student. Then communication in business. According to Bature 2019, business communication provides a means by which people in business, politics, and other professions interact, exchange information, and share ideas for the purpose of achieving objectives and goals of the organization. In the words of Juneji 2019, business communication is the sharing of business-related information between people within and outside the organization for commercial benefit of that organization. Looking at these two definitions, we can safely say that business communication can be defined as the process of passing information and sharing ideas within and outside organization aimed at achieving what? Set objectives and goals. The next is variables in business communication process. We have talked about business communication. However, to have an effective business communication, we need to consider some variables. Bature 2019 identified the following variables in business communication process. This is the diagram here, which explains everything we need to know about variables in business communication process. You can see the sender, who is the source here, or the initiator of the message. Then, before the receiver, we see the message, which is the commodity itself. Before the message can reach the receiver, it has to pass through a medium called channel. Then, after the channel is the receiver. The receiver now has to respond based on the interpretation of the message sent to him by the source. That is what is called what? The feedback. The receiver here is also referred to as the momentary destination of the message. Momentary in the sense that the receiver has no permanent place in the course of communication process. The feedback is the response of the receiver after receiving the message and interpret it. Then the noise. We cannot not run away from noise while communicating. You discover that this noise comes in either as a result of technological problem or from the source, or it can even be from the channel and that of the receiver. We are going to look at each term briefly. The source. The first stage in a business communication process is simply referred to as the source or the initiator of the message. The source is the origin or the sender of the business message. He is the initiator, in which I have already explained. The source formulates the message in such a way that accurately conveys the message to the receiver or receivers while considering principles of effective communication. The 7 C's, which are complete, concise, consideration, clarity, concrete, courtesy, and correctness. The next is the message. The message is the content, the subject matter, the instruction, the business decisions or ideas to be transmitted, transferred, or exchanged. It is the commodity itself. Message could be verbal, that is oral, non-verbal, body or body movement, or metaverbal, which can be inferences or message behind message. The next channel, just as we have seen in the diagram, that the channel is the medium or media used for transmitting, exchanging, or transferring the business ideas, information, instructions, etc. to the receiver or receivers. The choice of the channel should be strategic for effective and efficient transmission. Okay. The next is the receiver. The receiver in a business communication process is the momentary destination of the business decisions, instructions, ideas, message or messages, etc. It is momentary because the process is cyclical. There is no final destination. It is continuous because feedback is expected at every point of receipt. Then the feedback. Feedback is the response, the action or action of the receiver of business idea, instruction, or message, etc. after interpreting it. If the response is the expected or desired feedback, then business communication can be said to be effective. But if it is not the expected feedback, communication in this case is referred to as ineffective. The last one is noise. Noise is anything that can affect the smooth flow of a message from the sender to the receiver. Also, noise can be obstacles that reduce the effectiveness of a message. Noise can emanate from source, channel, and the like. That is, noise can be physical, mechanical, or linguistic. I had already explained that in the course of the diagram shown before now. The next is distortions in business communication. There are so many problems that can significantly affect or impair business communication, and one of these is the issue of distortion. Distortion in business communication simply refers to the changes, modifications, or misinterpretations of the information or message sent by the source or the originator. Some of these distortions include serial distortion. This refers to the changes or modifications that original message or messages from the source are subjected to before reaching the receiver or user. This is common when the communication network or chain involves loss of persons before it gets to the receiver or final user. The next is perceptual distortion. Perceptual distortion in this case has to do with the way we perceive or see things and people around us. Our values, beliefs, attitudes do affect our relationship with people in the society. The next is semantic distortion. Semantic distortion arises from complex words, signs, and symbols with more than a meaning. The different meanings result in distortions in the sending and receiving information, instructions, and messages. For instance, the word run could mean different things to different people, such as run for a post, run for your life, depending on how it is used. The next is phonetic distortion. This is mostly related to verbal or oral communication, and it has to do with word pronunciations. Sometimes words with almost similar pronunciations can be misinterpreted in a business communication process. For instance, somebody can say so instead of show, peace instead of feast, bread instead of bread. In this case, if we want to correct these problems or anomalies, we can repeat severally that particular word that is giving us problem while in communication process or while communicating with people, so that they can understand us very well. The next to look at is principles of effective business communication. We call it 7 C's. The principles of effective communication have been summed up into 7 and referred to as the 7 C's of effective communication. These principles are applicable to all forms or modes of communication as presented in the table below. As you can see there, C's are 7. The first C is complete, that the communication must contain all necessary facts while taking into consideration the recipients or receivers. Then it has to be concise. The communication must be straight to the point. Next is consideration. Be empathetic and put yourself into the shoes of the receiver or receivers in the course of communication. Clarity. It must be clear and done in non-ambiguous languages, signs, and symbols. Concrete. This refers to the exchange or transfer of definite, specific, and exact information, decision, ideas, and signs instead of vague and general information, decision, ideas, etc. Courtesy. Effective business communication emphasizes show of respect to the receiver or receivers instead of disrespect, arrogance, etc. The communication source should be sincerely courteous, judicious, polite, reflective, enthusiastic. The last one is correctness. Effective communication should be correct in choice and spellings of words, choice of signs and symbols, construction of sentences, and so on and so forth. That in the course of communication, we need to take into consideration all these C's, which are complete, concise, consideration, clarity, concrete, courtesy, and correctness for effective communication, for the understanding of the receiver of our message or messages. The assignment. The first assignment there is why business communication, or the importance of business communication in any organization. You have self-check question here and the answer, which says define business communication, and the answer is there for you. The other question says, if Abu works in your organization, Abu is a hard-working guy. What does the organization do to Abu to make him work better? The answer is also there for you. Read more for more understanding of business communication. Thank you.